Well, I am Nicholas Tutela, and I work on the homeless outreach team, and I also do evenings up at Rapid Response. I was the youngest of 5 children of an abusive alcoholic. We grew up in Boston, and then around 11, I believe, is when we left him and we moved up to New Hampshire. New Hampshire was not much better for me because not having my dad there anymore made me feel like, oh, I can do anything. And so I did. I ended up getting in trouble. I was in my first drug rehab at 12, and that was for 3 months, and then I got out of there, and I like to say borrowed my mother's car, but they say I stole it. But anyway, I took my mom's car, went to Florida, and then got locked up for 2 years from that. So got out when I was 15, and then decided I didn't really like the way things were going in life, so I decided to do reverse retirement and started hitchhiking cross country for about the next 15 years. When I was young hitchhiking, I regret to say that I did not pay attention to much around me, but I did love New Orleans. New Orleans became my home. I just felt very comfortable there. The architecture there is incredible. The way that that whole city just celebrates art and music made me feel very much at home there. So I was actually living on the streets and going to a drop-in center, and I realized that they didn't have any men that worked there. So I was like, hey, you guys should probably hire a guy, you know, just because I know a lot of the guys that I hung out with weren't comfortable talking to the female staff there about problems that they were having. And so they were like, well, you should go apply. And I was like, that's crazy, because I was doing reverse retirement and had no intention on working. And so finally I did, thinking it was all for naught, and then they hired me, which was crazy to me. And then because we had a free clinic that was located below the drop-in center, I had convinced the doctor down there to start giving me needles so we could start a needle exchange, because I had been running into a lot of people. One of the most horrifying stories for me was a couple of people had found a syringe in a squat, and they used a matchbook to sharpen it up so that they could both use it. And so that for me was like, okay, harm reduction is what we need to be doing. And luckily the staff at Tulane fully supported that. And so then began the first needle exchange in New Orleans. I was in Las Vegas right before I came back here, and I knew I couldn't keep living the way I was. I was an IV drug user, and so I came back here, and I wish I could tell you that like I quit the day that I got back here. I didn't, but I had got up one morning and I realized that the thing that controlled my life was smaller than my little toe, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. So I went to rehab, and then when I got out, I was like, oh, I'm gonna go somewhere else. And then I got into sober living here in Manchester, and I fell in love with the city and wouldn't want to call anywhere else home now. Like, I've been an artist my whole life, or I fancy myself an artist my whole life. When I was younger, I used to draw a lot, and then I became a writer. So when I got into recovery, I had a really hard time as an artist trying to find my voice, because I thought that like to make art, I had to be suffering. And now my life was good. So I'm like, how do you make art about good stuff, you know? And I decided to just throw myself back into art. I bought pretty much every kind of art supply I would ever need, like paints, clay, mask making stuff. I have a sewing machine just in case I want to start making gowns, because I do want to start making gowns. So I was like, I'm gonna buy that. I don't know how to do it, but I bought all the stuff for it because I'll learn at some point. And then I started my studio, which is still Feral Studio. The energy that I feel when I'm just sitting there making art is second to none. For me, the plan with this is to eventually turn this into a community art center, to be able to share art with everyone, and especially at-risk youth and homeless people, anyone that doesn't have access to this type of stuff, you know, because I think it is life-changing. I think that art can really make people realize that they want something more, or maybe they need something less. But either way it goes, I think that it opens people up to a lot of different possibilities, and especially youth. If you can get them into art before they pick up a drug, then you may save a life right there. So for me, it's a very big focus in my life. It's how I practice self-care. It's what I do in my spare time. It's also what I'm trying to do to make extra money, because capitalism. So why donate to homeless outreach? One, because it feels so dang good to help other people. Second all, because these are your neighbors, and these are people that are in need. Like nobody, not one of us, got to where we are in this world without getting help from other people. And so I think that donating to this cause is a way to give back to your community. It's not just helping one individual. I understand that not everybody has a lot to give. We also do take donations of blankets. We take donations of clothes. We take donations of socks. You have a pair of boots that looked great that first day, but now you think that they're ugly and not on fleek anymore. Cool, I know some people that'll take them. It's not like gonna get them housed, and I know that, but it'll let them know that somebody cares enough for maybe them to go another day, for them maybe to believe that things can get better. And I think that when you're living on the streets, just even being able to have that hope that things can get better, sometimes is enough to get you you through a cold night. You know, I mean, yeah, it's not going to keep you warm, but it may make you want to see the next day. By doing this, it lets your community know that you care, and even more directly, it lets those that are probably often overlooked, that get yelled at, that have to come up with $1 just to use the bathroom, to let them know that they belong in this society and that we want them to be a part of it and that we're doing what we can to help them get a step up.